Call 219-362-6144 to report that lost or found pet for the next Pet Patrol. Pet Patrol airs throughout the day, Monday through Friday, as part of your Update 12 news, and it doesn't cost a penny. Call 219-362-6144 to report a lost or found pet for the next Pet Patrol here on 96.7 The Eagle.
Your Kiwanis Club of LaPorte is celebrating 101 years of service to LaPorte. Everyone at the committee to elect Andy Haney sheriff extends their hand of gratitude to the Kiwanians for 101 years of service. The Kiwanis Club of LaPorte supports the Riley Children's Hospital. They also sponsor LaPorte High School Academic Recognition Dessert and work with the YMCA on their triathlon, plus much more. Everyone at the committee to elect Andy Haney sheriff salutes the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte and congratulates the Kiwanians on their 101st anniversary.
Your number one source of news and information in LaPorte County is 96.7 The Eagle and HometownNewsNow.com. Welcome to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. For the next 30 minutes, we invite you to be part of the conversation by calling 219-362-0522. And you can now text your questions to the Liquor Vault on-air line or by email to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the hosts or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Sound Off. Today is Monday, February 21st, and it's over 50 degrees outside. I hope you are going outside and taking in that nice, almost spring air because it is wonderful. I went outside after I, got up and going, and I felt the warmth on my skin, and I felt like there's hope again in LaPorte County, Indiana. So, good to have you with us on the show today, whether you're listening online or you're listening in person in your radio, driving somewhere. Just glad to have you. We've got LaPorte County Commissioner Joe Haney here in the studio. Glad to have him today. We're going to have a good conversation. To give you kind of a glimpse, we've got some other great conversations coming up in the next coming weeks. We're hoping to do some really special stuff for the primary to focus on some of those races that have candidates in it. Obviously, there's a ton of different candidates running, a ton of different races. You've got trustees, council, a really important commissioner race. Then we also have the congressional races, our federal type of races that we want to also highlight. But there's only so many episodes we can do. So we're going to try to, in the primary, highlight the competitive races to put you in touch with your candidates so that you can ask them the questions that you have and get to know them a little bit better. So we're reaching out to them. Hopefully we'll have a good schedule for you. But next Friday, we don't have a candidate. We have Nick Minnick, our LaPorte City engineer, and LaPorte City planner will be with him as well. And we're going to talk about some of the road stuff for this spring, getting some plans there, and how it should affect you. So if you have questions about those, you can certainly listen, call in, and let us know there. Now, we don't have our text line back yet. I've been saying it'll be back soon. I don't know when it'll be back. I'm not going to lie to you anymore. I'm going to shoot you straight. I don't know when the text line's coming back. However, we do have our call line here. The Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can always put the comments in the comment section, and I will read those as well. And finally, you can email me, the old-fashioned electronic mail, at studio@967theeagle.com, and I will be happy to ask that question. I'm so grateful to have our guest today, Mr. Commissioner Joe Haney. How are you, buddy?
I'm well, thank you, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Good. You said you've got some wildlife coming and enjoying the warmer weather at your property too, right?
I do, yeah. So I went out last night with the dog for his last walk of the night, and I heard a sandhill crane out near the pond, and I thought that's what it was. And, I went out first thing this morning with the dog, and not only is the sandhill crane out, but our normal geese that are out on our pond are all back. And, of course, it's frozen mostly still, so there's a little patches of water, but they are back with a vengeance, and I'm so glad, because that's good news.
It is.
When the wildlife come back, that's
exactly.
I start smiling.
They seem to know something sometimes we don't about the future, so it's good to have them back. Now, we've had an ongoing conversation here on Sound Off, and I'll have get your opinion on this, because Mayor Dermody was here last week. We've had Councilperson Rosenbaum in the show recently, and a lot of the conversation has involved the local income tax. Now, you have an interesting role in this, in that you're a commissioner. It certainly impacts you and everything, but you don't have a vote on this. This is a council vote, correct?
Correct, yeah.
But you certainly do have opinions, and you want to help guide the decision making on this. And the council has put forward and got a study done, and I did read that study about that. Where do you personally fall in line on the local income tax?
So it's generally, I am opposed to pretty much any increases in income taxes, just as a general rule. Government takes in a lot of money at every level, and we need to be smart with how we spend it. At the same time, there can be, there's definite issues that we've had. So one of the first things that I came across when I took office last year was some of the issues with our EMS, including the fact that we have 7 ambulances on duty at any given time in LaPorte County. That is about a third of what Porter County has per person. So Porter County has about roughly 3 times more ambulances on the road per person than LaPorte County does. And LaPorte County is a much bigger county. It's the largest landmass county in the state, basically, or second largest. So we need additional ambulances. So one of the things that I wanted early last year when we were talking about building the rolling per EMS base was putting a new ambulance out there, as opposed to moving one of the ambulances from the city of LaPorte. There's some pushback from some various folks that the call volume doesn't justify it. I would argue that the call volume does justify it, but on top of that, it's not just the call volume, it's the distance and response time. So I went through and I broke down, for example, if there's a call at the high school out there, the in medicine, since I first started out as an EMT back 22 years ago, roughly, whatever it's been, there's something called the golden hour. And your response time, if you can get your patient to the hospital within an hour, their chance of survivability goes up dramatically. Wow. And it starts right after that hour expires. The survivability falls off precipitously for critical cases after that hour. I mean, it's like, it's a trending graph, and then the bottom just falls out. It's just almost like a straight line down. It's pretty bad. So I broke down the response times from, you've got 60 seconds for somebody to make a 911 call. You've got 60 seconds to get dispatched. You've got some of these are best case scenarios. 60 seconds for the guys to get in the truck and start rolling. Mm-hmm. You've got best case getting out there. It's about 14, 15 minutes. That's just getting on scene. Then you have to get your gear out. It takes 2 to 3 minutes to get out and then into wherever it is, and that's assuming you don't have to go in the very back of the school. Run up all these numbers. Best case scenario, you're looking at about 55 minutes is what I pegged it out. Pretty much best case scenario, getting there, getting them back to the hospital.
So you've got a 5-minute buffer, essentially.
So you've got basically a 5-minute buffer, and that's best case that these rigs aren't assigned that are coming out of LaPorte, pulling out of Michigan City or something like that. So we seriously need more ambulances on the road in LaPorte County. In addition to making sure we're paying to get the appropriate amount of people in, we also definitely need additional ambulances. So one of the first parts that when I heard the public safety lit first approached was that we need salary increases. So when you look at the 0.45% increase, that's a pretty big increase. And it's 0.45 or 0.5%, however you look at it. Yeah. That's the total amount of income tax in Porter County. Now, LaPorte County has 110,000 people. Porter County has 170,000, give or take about 1,000. Mm-hmm. So Porter County could get away with 0.5%. We're at 0.95%, almost double what they have. And I think we can be smarter with the funds that we have. Now, if we do need an increase, and I have to look at this from an entire county perspective, not just from the city of LaPorte or Michigan City, the various cities in the county, but from a whole county approach. And so for the county, if this 0.5% increase goes through, we're talking about an increase in revenue of just over $6 million for the county. That's a lot of money. I want to know, for my edification, I want to know exactly how that money is going to be spent. Are we going to take $1 million of it, put it towards salaries? We're going to take $1 million of it, buy $1 million of it will get us a couple of ambulances, hopefully at this point, because prices continue to skyrocket on them. Exactly what are we going to use this money for? Because the one thing that I don't want to see, what inevitably happens, and it's happened in other counties in the state that have done public safety lit increases, or we can look at the federal level where you have an ARP funds, and about 20% of it goes to what they say it's going to go for, and then the other 80% is, obviously the county's not going to be sending money out of the country, but but the point is that what I don't want to see is a shell game play that's seen in other counties where, wherever it's going to be, cities, counties, whatever, you get $6 million in public safety lit funds. That money has to be spent on public safety. That's correct. There's nothing that says that you can't take, right? We have public safety in LaPorte County now. Where's it coming from? It's coming from the general fund. So you do an increase of $1, $2, $3, $4 million for public safety. Then you have that $2 or $3 million extra. You take that money out of the general fund, use it to pay public safety lit. Now you have an extra $2 or $3 million in the general fund to spend on whatever you want. Now it's not necessarily a bad thing. We need to improve our roads, for example. In my opinion, we're not paving and repaving enough roads every year in this county to stay, at least to keep our heads above water. But if we're going to raise taxes to improve roads, let's say, we need to be upfront about that, and we need to actually we need to actually say, all right, we need to raise these taxes.
There is a lit for infrastructure, I think, isn't there? Isn't there a part of one of the four features is essentially you can use a lit for, I think, roads and stuff like that?
Out of the general fund, you can use that for absolutely anything. Yeah. So, and then there's other options as well, like wheel taxes and stuff like that. I know the city of LaPorte has a wheel tax. The county does not have a wheel tax, and I don't think it should. That's one of the issues I have with downstate is I don't think the state should be dangling money over our heads and saying, hey, you have to tax people more to get the money that you should be getting anyway. That's something that I think the legislature dropped the ball on when that happened, but that's out of my hands.
Sure. All right, so we're talking with LaPorte County Commissioner Joe Haney. Let's get to a caller before we go on break here. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. Thanks for calling. We've got Commissioner Joe Haney with us in the studio. What's your question? I can't hear him. All right, let's get to another caller. Sorry, we couldn't hear you. Hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. We've got Commissioner Joe Haney with us in the studio. What's your question?
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good, doing well, thanks.
Good, thank you.
Good. Yep, beautiful weather, just like you guys said. Loving it. I heard you'd already acknowledged the EMS problem, but obviously first responders don't stop with EMS and the problem, so failure to recognize those is you at least need to recognize that. Like the Sheriff's Department, per federal standards for our population, are 19 officers short with a $10,000 salary short. So that's why the municipalities, LaPorte County, and everybody's looking to leave. Because in comparison, there's nothing to compare. Everybody's beating us around. My questions are for you, or have you ever been in a situation where you had to wait for a first responder, EMS, fire, police, and had an extended ETA? Personally, have you? And because, unless you have, you're not really speaking from experience, and that's that could not be a good thing for you, because I also want to say it's kind of funny you guys weren't concerned about first responders until this movement of lit. I don't know why. You guys knew it was a problem, but because now lit, I think the commissioners are concerned about is re-election. And by delaying a solution with false remedies, which me and my colleagues of first responders see through, it will not be supporting anybody that does not support the safety of LaPorte County. That's all I have.
All right, thanks so much for calling. Obviously, in some way, I'm sure he's a first responder in some way. I think he said we. So how do you respond to some of that?
So I would point back, I first took office last year, and one of the first things I started pushing for, and I used EMS as one example because that's something that's close to my heart as a former EMT myself, and first responder. That's something that's close to my heart, and I can speak very, very closely on. So I want to mention the rolling prairie base. That's something that's been rolling around this county for 15 years that we're finally going to actually make happen now. To get to his point, I've spoken a number of times about a number of different things over the past several years, especially in the first couple months I took office, about some of the issues with the Sheriff's Department finding out exactly how many deputies we have on the road at any given time for the size of our county. And generally, I don't speak directly to those numbers because I don't like to put those specific numbers out there in the public sphere. It's just I don't think it's healthy for more shady part of our element. But I've been very concerned with this. I've spoken with Sheriff Boyd about it. I've spoken with Barb Huster, E911 director. I visit the folks with E911 quite regularly as well. There is across the board. We've had a number of issues, and I spoke in favor of raises for all of our first responders numerous times. So I know there's very significant differences between myself and my two fellow commissioners on some of these issues. I'm willing to entertain the idea of increases, but I want to make sure that they actually go to what they're for.
So yeah, you to real quick to clarify, you're not completely against a local income tax increase. You would want, if I'm hearing you right, though, some more parameters,
right?
If that would happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to make sure it's actually going to go toward what it says it is, because when we look at the county getting over $6 million in additional revenue, that's a truckload of money, and we need to make sure that it's actually going to what they say it is. Because, like I said, we've seen the shell game played around the state, where they'll pass public safety lit tax, they'll get $6 million, they'll transfer $4 or $5 million out of the general fund. And start paying that from the public safety lit, and then all of a sudden you've got $4 or $5 million to play with, for other projects, and it doesn't go to public safety. And that's my greatest concern, is that what is the money? If we're going to raise money for public safety, it needs to go to public safety. It needs to be money that's earmarked specifically for that, and not coming out of the general fund, and not playing that shell game. That's my biggest concern. Because if you want to raise taxes for roads or parks or any of this other stuff, be upfront about it. Don't play the games and move the shells around and then pretend like we're going to take care of our first responders when we're actually just freeing up money to spend on pet projects.
Just moving money in one line item to another. Exactly. All right, we're going to take a break here. We've got some other callers. If you've got a question for Commissioner Joe Haney, he's in the studio. The Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call me, or you can email me at soundoff at 967theeagle.com. Hey, we'll be right back after this. Keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Car problems often strike at the absolute worst times, but you can rest well knowing that Cannon's Automotive Service is here for you and dedicated to get you back on the road with prompt, efficient, same-day service. The same Cannon's commitment that LaPorte has trusted for over 50 years. Cannon's Automotive Service, now with 2 locations, 710 Tyler Street and 909 Boyd Boulevard.
With Cannon's Automotive, we fix everything.
Bring your plans and project ideas to the 2022 Home and Lifestyle Expo at the Blue Chip Casino Events Center in Michigan City. Admission is free for this 2-day family event, Saturday, March 5th and Sunday, March 6th, presented by the Builders Association of LaPorte County. Talk with professionals in home building, remodeling, maintenance, landscaping, home decor, and so much more. Enter to win a $1,000 shopping spree. The 2022 Home and Lifestyle Expo. Visit homelifestyleexpo.com for more information.
Good news, Surf Fiber Internet is growing in LaPorte. Get 1 gig speed with a free whole home Wi-Fi router for only $65 a month. There's no hidden fees, no contracts, and free installation. They are building out more neighborhoods every day. So visit surffiber.com to check your address for service or call 844-955-SURF for more details. That's 844-955-SURF. This is a limited time offer. Speeds may vary and some restrictions apply.
Tech Credit Union is now in LaPorte. Their newest branch, located on Boyd Boulevard, is open to the community and ready to meet your financial needs. Take a look. You'll enjoy access to the latest banking and loan services, but without the big bank fees. Tech Credit Union is the better option for personal and business banking. To learn more, visit techcu.org or contact their LaPorte branch at 219-266-3100. Again, that's 219-266-3100. Tech Credit Union is an equal housing lender and federally insured by NCUA.
At Swanson Center, we want you to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. With locations in Michigan City and LaPorte, Swanson Center offers a wide range of mental and behavioral health services for children and adults, including individual, family, and group therapy, case management, and psychiatric services. For more information, call Swanson Center today at 219-879-4621 or visit swansoncenter.org. Swanson Center, serving the mental health needs of LaPorte County for over 50 years.
Everyone at Qubit Networks wants to take this opportunity to salute the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte on their 101st anniversary. For the past 101 years, the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte has promoted and sponsored many programs to help every facet of our community: youth, family life, education, the handicapped, and the quality of life in our city. During this special 101st anniversary of the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte, everyone at Qubit Networks says thank you, LaPorte Kiwanians, for a job well done for the past 101 years. Keep up the good work you do for LaPorte, who has sponsored over 25 projects and fundraisers each year for 100 exciting years. Your Kiwanis Club of LaPorte, that's who. Adam Karanka wants to salute the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte for 101 years of service to our community. The Kiwanis Club of LaPorte supports the LaPorte County 4-H Club programs. Adam Karanka says thanks again to all the Kiwanians of the 101-year-old Kiwanis Club of LaPorte for their support in the LaPorte County 4-H programs.
How many clubs, organizations, companies, or groups have served their community for 101 years? Everyone at EPAC knows the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte is one of those organizations that's been working for LaPorte for 101 years. Our Kiwanians have sponsored Little League and Babe Ruth teams in LaPorte for years. The Kiwanis Club of LaPorte has also hosted the LaPorte High School Spring Sports Dessert for many years. Everyone at EPAC thanks the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte for their support these past 101 years. They're a great community partner.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Vault on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. We're on Sound Off right now with Commissioner Joe Haney, who's in the studio. If you have a question, 219-362-0522 or soundoff@967theeagle.com. All right, let's get to another caller. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. What's your question for Commissioner Joe Haney?
Oh, a quick question. I was watching the meeting from last time, and Commissioner Matias said that the wages have been a growing problem. It's been a growing problem. We've been kind of kicking the cans down the road. And then Mr. Sander got on, gave his presentation, and said one of the solutions was a seated bond. A quick question, and I got some more, is do you have to pay a bond back, and do you have to pay interest when you pay bonds back?
So yes and yes. I don't like the idea of it's a temporary solution, first of all, because the bond money will only last so long. So I am flatly opposed to doing a bond to fund any kind of raises or things like that. I don't want to see the county go into debt. One of the nice things about our current bond rating right now is that we're low debt to income. We did just take on this courthouse debt, which is a significant chunk. I know personally I would be completely opposed to any bonds to do that. I don't think we should be borrowing.
All right, let's get to another caller. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. What's your question for Commissioner Joe Haney?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, you're on.
All right. I was wondering what's the issue with why weren't we getting these ideas up and running earlier about funding the public safety? It seems like this is all just a new trend since this lit thing's come out. So I don't know. It seems like you guys have been trying to get the public safety funded for a long time. Then it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be this big problem.
All right, thanks for calling. So I think another caller also kind of asked something in this line. Essentially, why hasn't the county been working on this for longer than just the sheriff has been talking about wage issues, these kind of things for a while. Why now and not earlier?
That's a good question. I really don't have an answer for that. Overall, it's just been something I think the Commission and Council hasn't been willing to address. I know in some of these issues, like I said, I use the EMS base as an easy point to option, and just trying to get another ambulance. And the pushback on that was extreme. It's just not something that's been on the radar, and I'm glad it is now on the radar because it's something that's important, and I'm glad it's finally made its way out. It's just my concern, I think like I had said earlier, is that any increases that we're going to do to public safety, 100% of that needs to go to public safety and not be taking from part of the general budget and backstopping that, and then playing some sort of shell game. So why it hasn't, I don't know. I know since I've taken office, I've since about 5 weeks in, and I started discovering these problems with the EMS, Sheriff's Department, E911. It's been something I've been talking about since, a couple of weeks after coming in. And this is, for me, obviously, I just got elected then, and, I'm just starting my second year. I'm here for another, nearly 3 years. It's not an election time issue for me. It's just something that's, always been close to my heart. So,
all right, let's get to another question. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. Thanks for calling. What's your question for Commissioner Joe Haney?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Mr. Joe, what are your thoughts on alleged sand mines that aren't really sand mines that's going on?
I talked about that fairly in depth at the last commissioner meeting. This is a very tricky situation. I've spoken with various local attorneys, the county attorney, Plain Commission attorney, BZA, as well as taking time to call down state and talk to various state agencies. The biggest issue is that sand mining, when it comes to most of these JZOs and joint zoning ordinances and IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, stuff like that, EPA, sand mining is a technical term that refers to processing mining of sand. It's secondary steps. It's not just digging something out of the ground. Digging something out of the ground is basically falls into borrow pit, if no other term. So the issue then becomes, where does it go from just someone who's, digging a pond or, contouring land to when does it become a business exactly? If obviously an individual person doesn't have their own equipment to do this sort of thing, so they would have to hire a company, have our company come in. It's fairly complicated. Now, at the last meeting, Commissioner Mateus brought something up that I hadn't heard before, that apparently one of the permits, the rules of the permit, the reporting requirements and things like that allegedly haven't been being done. If that's the case, then Commissioner Matias, as the president of the commission, is the MS4 operator, and MS4 can pull that permit if they're not complying with the rules and stipulations of that permit. So that's where I think that needs to be addressed from. First and foremost, if they're not following what they agreed to, then you can pull the permit and stop it. But from there, it's been a convoluted issue that's gone back and forth. Trying to send it back down to the state for another time to ask for a stay from the state. The state is very clear that 99% of that permit is predicated upon our local permit. So the state's permit is based upon, first and foremost, there being a local permit. So if the county's asking for a stay, it should be the county doing the stay, not asking IDEM for the stay, because if there's an issue with the permit, it's with the local MS4 permit, it's the county that has the responsibility to deal with that, not the state. The state just oversees the general next step. So, Commissioner Mateus, if Commissioner Mateus is correct in what she's saying may be occurring, then she's well within her authority to pull that permit and stop it.
Would you favor her stopping that if they're not abiding by their permit, regulations and rules then?
Yeah, if they're not following the rules and regulations that were set out, then yeah, there should be a stay and it should be investigated, and whatever appropriate steps are taken. Now it's been to court at least once, and the court ruled that they're. So and it's still going. So that's kind of where we are with that.
All right, let's get to another caller. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. Thanks for calling. What's your question?
Hi, yeah, thanks for listening to me, guys. A long-time resident of LaPorte City. Quick question. He seems to be contradicting himself. He's saying that he's against the lit, but he's also in the same sentence stating that his EMS has been starving for more equipment. But if he says that he's contradicting himself by saying that, number one. And number two, shouldn't he be for the lit and just question where it's going to go after the lit?
All right. Go ahead.
So the county spends, and I can't speak for the individual cities because I don't get into their budgets, and I live unincorporated, so I don't live in any city limits. The county spends a truckload of money every year. We put boatloads of money out, and drilling down on what we're spending money on, some of these pet projects, some of these other things need to be cut out, and we need to fund what we need to fund. There's certain things that government has a responsibility to do. Protecting life and property is of the highest order when it comes to that. I don't think there's any contradiction there. I want to make sure that if the county, for example, needs $1.5 million or $2 million or the proposed $6 million, to make all these upgrades. Well, let's put it down on paper. Let's show me exactly where this money is going to go, and don't take $1 or $2 million of it, put it toward public safety, and then pull the other $4 million out of the general fund, and then only spend an extra, whatever the amount is from public safety, and then we're pulling all that money out for more pet projects. That's what I oppose, and I think everybody should be on board with this, that if we're going to increase whatever amount we're increasing for public safety, that needs to be new dollars that are going toward public safety, not filling in money out of the general fund and then still spending the same amount of money or maybe just a little bit more. And I think that's the big thing, and maybe I haven't been clear enough on this, but if we're going to increase taxes by $3 million, let's say, the middle ground of where we're at, we'll meet in the middle. If we're going to increase taxes by $3 million, that needs to be $3 million that goes, new money that goes directly toward public safety, and none of that money gets played the shell game and pulled out of the general fund and then swapped around so they can spend it on other things. And I would think everybody should be on board with this, that if we're increasing taxes for public safety, all that money needs to go directly to public safety. It needs to be new dollars going to public safety, not pulling out of the general fund and backstopping it.
All right. We're going to take our final break of the day and get back to you just for a couple more minutes of Sound Off. Keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Ben Conowitz here, LaPorte Seamless Gutter, 219-362-9972. Fall is here, and that means leaves and debris for your gutter system. We've got 3 separate types of gutter guard for your home. Leaves and debris come in all shapes and sizes. We don't need a one-size-fits-all for your gutter. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 219-362-9972, or you can visit us on the web, www.lpseamless.com.
Vote Fagan 2022. Who is Sean Fagan? He's a lawyer. He's a Republican. Sean Fagan, running for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Sean Fagan knows that LaPorte County is a great place to live, and he wants to keep it that way. Sean Fagan for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Be safe. Be strong. Let's work together. Vote Sean Fagan 2022. This message paid for by Fagan for Prosecutor.
Hi, this is Cassandra. I'm the office manager at Allstate Prendergast Agency here in LaPorte and Michigan City, where providing protection that fits your life is something we take very personally. We are committed to learning about your needs and personalizing protection to meet them. From bundling your auto, home, and life insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverages based on your protection needs, we can build an insurance plan that fits your life. Are you in good hands? Call us at Prendergast Agency today for a free quote, 219-324-9595.
Since 2014, things have been popping at Chicagoland Popcorn. They are your popcorn flavor superstore with over 250 different flavors. Whether you need a little or a lot, make sure you stop by and visit them in Maryville on Highway 30 or ChicagolandPopcorn.com. They do custom tins, gift baskets, fundraisers, weddings, and now offering custom corporate gifts. What better way to show your appreciation than a customized popcorn tin? Check out ChicagolandPopcorn.com.
Who has sponsored over 25 projects and fundraisers each year for 101 exciting years? Your LaPorte Kiwanis Club, that's who. Gleaner Life Insurance Society Mill Creek Arbor wants to salute the LaPorte Kiwanis Club on 101 years of service to our community. The Kiwanis Club of LaPorte supports the LaPorte County 4-H Club programs. All the members of the Gleaner Life Insurance Society Mill Creek Arbor say thanks again, Kiwanians, to the 101-year-old Kiwanis Club of LaPorte for their support in the LaPorte County 4-H programs.
After we lost Mom, I was worried about Dad living alone in that big house, but that's always been his home. I couldn't imagine him being happy anywhere else. But then Jenny, our comfort keeper, helped to make things right, taking care of the house, making meals, and just being there for him. She's always close by, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Across the country or across town, Comfort Keepers like Jenny provide in-home care for just a few hours a week or on an extended basis.
Comfort Keepers, 1719 State Street, LaPorte, 362-9800.
All Comfort Keepers offices are independently owned and operated.
School Buddies, a school-based mentoring program offered by the Youth Services Bureau, is currently looking for volunteer mentors for our local elementary schools. Adult mentors will visit local elementary schools once a week during the school year. Volunteers help students with schoolwork, play games, or eat lunch during their match time. To learn more about making a difference in a child's life, please call the Youth Services Bureau at 219-362-9587 or email schoolbuddies@csinet.net.
Whether it's a car accident,
storm damage, or a fire,
when the unthinkable happens,
it doesn't matter if you've saved money in 15 minutes.
In this moment, it doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do.
In this moment, what matters is that your independent insurance agent and the company that stands behind them have you covered.
Auto Owners Insurance, the no-problem people.
Hi, I'm Scott Templin.
I'm Carl Savage.
And I'm Joe Bernanke with General Insurance Services in LaPorte, Michigan City, Valparaiso, and Hobart.
Visit GENINS.com.
The team at Meridian Title wants to say thanks to the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte for not letting the parade pass them by. For over a century, the Kiwanis Club has seen the needs and served the children and youth of our community. From scholarships and school leadership programs to AEDs, technology clubs, and backpack food funding, the Kiwanis Club has been there. And when last year's 4th of July parade needed new leadership, the Kiwanis Club and key community leaders rose to the task. Meridian Title is proud to support the Kiwanis Club of LaPorte every day, and especially on the 4th of July.
Let's look at the forecast at 96.7 The Eagle, brought to you by the Pink Sheep Children's Boutique.
The charming and affordable Pink Sheep Children's Boutique has so many fun themes and styles for boys, girls, and moms. Come see for yourself. The Pink Sheep Children's Boutique, 604 Lincoln Way in downtown LaPorte.
Michiana weather.
Partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of 51. Southeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Overcast skies tonight, scattered thunderstorms likely, 46. From the Weather Center at HometownNewsNow.com. Right now, 49.
We're waiting to hear from you. Dial or text 362-0522 and let us know what you think. That's 362-0522. Back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
All right, just a couple minutes left on the show, and I wanted to ask you this because I know it's been asked online for. In 2018, when Commissioners Rich Merzinski, Connie Grammarosa, and Dr. Cora were on the commission, according to what is online anyway, they were allegedly offered $500,000 for the county home. Then in 2020, they settled for $50,000. It was a different commissioner, so that was when Sheila Matias, Rich Merzinski, and Dr. Cora, I think, were on. Do you know why they didn't take that deal in 2018?
So from what I followed, and I went to most of the commissioner meetings back then relating to the county home because it's close to my house, and I was really hoping to see it turn into a veterans home. It wasn't enough money was a prevailing factor, that the $500,000-$600,000, and these were verbal offers, and some of these were talked about during commissioner meetings. So these did happen. No, they weren't written offers, but
they weren't formal offers, but they were okay.
Yeah, so there were groups that were brought up from downstate, from Indianapolis and stuff like that. Some of them during public meetings, some of them to the commissioners themselves back then, and it was decided that it just wasn't enough money to sell the county home for. Flash forward then to 2020, and it sells for $500,000, or it sells for $50,000. Now, barely 2 years later, it's on the market by the people who bought it for $895,000, so $845,000 more than what they bought it for. And to my knowledge, the only thing they've done is they went inside, they ripped out some of the wood and fixtures and stuff like that, and did some demo work. And to my knowledge, that's all that's been done inside the home.
I had heard they did environmental mitigation. They hadn't done that even.
I don't know about that. I know they ripped out a bunch of stuff. They did some demo work, but other than demo work, I can't imagine you do $845,000 worth of demo work to raise the value of that property. So it's really unfortunate. It falls to a bigger scope of what's happened in this county when it comes to property things. So, for example, at the end of 2020, they wanted to purchase a property on Monroe Street. It was on the market for 2 years for $160,000. They offered $185,000 for it, under the guise that all of a sudden, the day after they it got pulled from the market, all of a sudden, they have these mystery